Hello user, welcome back. This is the second video tutorial which would help school user how to complete the data entry of each student in the student database management system for the academic year 2023-24. Before I start, let me recap what we have done in our previous tutorial video on the student promotion module. But first, I would suggest our viewer to view my first tutorial video on the student promotion activity before viewing this video. The category of the school is upper primary only. Low class is 6, high class is 8, which means that the entrance class of this particular school is class 6 and the exit class is class 8. Under the progression activity, finalize progression, you'll see that the school promotion of this particular school has been finalized and complete. Under the progression module summary, you'll be able to see that all the student has been completed with the promotion activity. Total enrollment 79, completed 79. And also the school promotion has been finalized. The promotion detail for the year 23-24 of each student will be displayed in this particular column. Now, for this particular student, the progression status for the year 22-23 has been marked as not passed, which means that the student has failed during the last promotion examination. The promoted class and section of this student now is still in class 6, section A, which is same as in previous year 6, section A. Percentage of marks scored by the student in the previous academic year is 23, and the number of days attended by the student in the previous academic year 22-23 is 132 days. The schooling status of the student is that the student is still studying in the same school. If you see the next student, the progression status of the student has been marked as promoted, which means the student has passed and promoted to next class from the previous academic year. The promoted class and section now for this particular student is class 7 from class 6 and in section A. The percentage of marks scored by the student is 50% and the total number of days attended by the student in the previous academic year is 165 days. The schooling status of the student is that the student is still studying in the same school, and like this the promotion detail for the 23-24 of all the students will be displayed. Now coming back to the school dashboard, you will see that the number of students who have completed the student progression and who are still studying and continuing in the same schools. However, those students whose promotion status have been marked as left the school with TC, without TC, is being moved and stored in the Dropbox. In the entrance class, class 6, generally new student entry should have been enabled. However, as I have mentioned in the first video that new student entry is enabled only for classes pre-primary up to class 1, and from class 2 and above new student has to be imported or pulled from the Dropbox. So for class 6, which is also the entry class of this schools, data of new student which have taken admission in this school has to be fetched and import from the Dropbox. School will only be able to import the student from the Dropbox if the student have been released from other school. If other schools have not yet released the student, then communication can be made if the source school is known, or otherwise you can directly import the student from the another schools if the student national ID is known using the import module. Now let us see how to complete the data entry of student taking one student from the entry class, that is class 6. Now for this particular student, the entry status has been marked as not started. Not started here mean that the data entry of this particular student have not yet been started or completed. Under the form status, the entry has been divided into three sections, that is the general profile of the student, the enrollment part of the student, and the facility provided for the student. So these three sections, the data entry for this particular student has to be completed. Now we will start the student data entry using the first section, that is the general profile. Under the general profile of the student, student name as per the school record has to be entered, then the gender of the student, male, female, and the date of birth of the student. While entering the date of birth, kindly ensure that the age matrix is complied. The black shade is the acceptable age group as per the corresponding classes. The red shade is the last applicable age metric that the application allows. However, if there are such students where the age and classes do not comply with the given metric, then this has to be informed to the block or district MIS for permitting to make the entry in the module, but only after verification of the student age. In the student state code, this is optional. It can be filled if the state has already assigned its own specific state code. In the mother's name, father's name, guardian's name, you have to provide the name, and you have to make sure that no initial or short naming technique is allowed here, and no dot or special character is also allowed. The next field is the Aadhaar. If the student already has the Aadhaar number, it can update the student, the Aadhaar number of the student in this particular field, and the name of the student as per the Aadhaar card. Now, let me just tell you that if the student general profile is already verified by Aadhaar, or if the student has already entered the Aadhaar number during the previous academic year, and the Aadhaar number has been verified by the UDISE application through this UDISE Plus software, then only the details such as the name of the student, gender, date of birth will be disabled. You will not be able to make any changes because the detail of the student is already been verified by the Aadhaar. Now, the contact detail, in the address you have to provide the address, then PIN code, the mobile number of the student, then alternate number mobile of the student, parent, or guardian, and the contact email ID of the student, parent, or the guardian. You have to specify it in this field. In the additional detail, the mother tongue of the student, you have to specify the social category, minority group, whether the student is a BPL beneficiary, AAY beneficiary, or the student is belonging to the economically weaker section or disadvantaged group, then you have to specify. Now, whether the student is a student with special need, if yes, then you have to specify the type of the impaired code that the student has, and also the disability percentage of the CWSN. Next question is the whether the student is an Indian national, and next is the student identified as out of school children in the current or the previous academic year. If yes, then you have to specify when did the student mainstream, either in the previous academic year or in the current academic year. So like this, you have to fill each and every section, and if you find out that the information is correct and okay, then you can click update. After clicking update, you will go to the next section, that is the enrollment detail of the student. Under enrollment detail of the student, you have to specify the admission number in the present schools, then the date of admission in the present school, you have to specify the class, section, roll number of the student, then the medium of instruction, then the academic stream opted by the student. This is only for higher secondary classes. Then this is the status of the student in previous academic year schooling. We have to specify. Then the grade and class studied in the last or previous class, last academic year. Then the admit or enroll under 5% quota reservation. This is only for the private unaided schools. This section will be disabled if the schools are government aided schools. In the previous class studied, result of the examination, then in the previous class studied, mark obtained, and the number of days. These three information will be pulled from the promotion activity that we have filled. So again, if all the information in this particular section has been filled correctly and checked, then you can click on save and proceed on to the next section, that is the facilities and other detail of the student. Here you have to specify whether the facilities was provided to the student for this year of filling in the data. If yes, then you have to specify what type of facilities: textbook or uniform or transport or bicycle, hostel, free escort, mobile, or any others. And the next question is scholarship received by student under central scholarship, state scholarship, and other scholarship. If scholarship has been received, then you have to specify yes, and you have to mention the code and the type of scholarship received by the student. Facilities provided by the student in case of CWSN for the year of filling the data. This is only for those students who are CWSN. If the student are CWSN, then this section will be enabled and detail has to be provided. Then whether students have been screened for specific learning disability, whether student has been screened for autism spectrum disorder, and whether student has been screened for attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, yes or no. So these three information definition has been defined in the DCF guideline, which you can download from the UDISE Plus publication page of the UDISE portal at the home page. There you will get the complete definitions and the information about this particular section so that you will be able to provide this information correctly. Next is the is student involved in the extracurricular activity, yes or no. You have to specify. Has the student been identified as a gifted student? Then you have to specify yes or no. And does the student participate in NCC, NSS, Scout and Guide? Yes or no. You have to specify this information. Again, in this particular section, if all the information that you have filled is correctly and check, verify, then you can click save. After clicking save, then we will proceed to the last part, that is the summary data of the profile student that you have filled. In this profile, you'll check each and every detail. If the information is correct, verified, and if it's satisfied with the information that you fill, then you can complete the student data entry by clicking this complete data. Once you click this complete data, the data entry of this particular student will be completed. And in the entry status, the not started will be shown as completed. So like this, the information for each and every student, you have to complete the data entry of these three sections one by one, and once you complete all the sections, summarize data, then you can click the complete, and again another student data entry will be complete. So like this, all the students you have to complete one by one till you complete every classes and every section of the student for com completing this data entry. Here, class 8, all the class 8 student, you have to complete like this process one by one, entering general profile, enrollment part, and facilities provided to the student. Then in the last part is a summarized data. Once you have summarized and it's checked, satisfied, then you can click complete data, and the data entry for this particular student will be complete. So until here, this is the complete process of doing the data entry module for the student in the student database management student. So until the next training video, thank you